The Blackout America Falls Dark. Cinematic ultra-realistic night view of New York City after a massive power grid blackout. Entire skyline completely dark with no building lights. Silent abandoned atmosphere. Skyscrapers as dark silhouettes under faint moonlight. Empty streets. Emergency tension. Volumetric fog. Dramatic low-key lighting. Ultra-detailed 8K. Wide establishing shot. Film still realism. Fear inside apartments. Ultra-realistic cinematic interior shot of people standing at high-rise apartment windows in fear, looking down at a completely dark, silent city. No electricity anywhere. Emotional expressions of shock and confusion. Moonlight softly illuminating faces. Reflections on glass. Eerie stillness. Shallow depth of field. Dramatic film lighting. Highly detailed realism. Highway collapse. Begins abandoned American highways during a total blackout. Traffic frozen, cars left scattered, people walking with flashlights and phones as emergency light. Early chaos beginning, fog and smoke in distance, cinematic survival atmosphere, handheld camera style, night realism, ultra-detailed environment, tense mood scene. Gas station panic. Empty gas station with no electricity during citywide blackout. Fuel pumps dead. People arguing and panicking in darkness. Flashlight beams cutting through smoke. Emergency survival tension. Cinematic shadows. Realistic night environment, high detail. Dramatic atmosphere. 5. Military response. Over city, military helicopters flying over a completely dark American city during blackout emergency, searchlights scanning streets below, faint smoke rising from buildings, tactical rescue operation atmosphere, cinematic aerial view, ultra-realistic lighting, high contrast night scene, dramatic tension, film grade, visual style. Part 2. Ultra-realistic, cinematic street-level view of New York after blackout escalation. Crowds increasing in streets, people confused and panicking, holding phones with no signal, emergency atmosphere growing stronger, distant sirens fading, smoke in background, flickering flashlight illumination, handheld shaky camera feel, dramatic night realism, ultra-detailed environment. Looting begins. Prompt. Cinematic, realistic scene of stores in America being looted during total blackout. Broken glass, people rushing inside shops, chaotic movement, emergency tension, dark streets lit only by fire and flashlights, smoke and debris, high contrast lighting, intense survival atmosphere, film-style realism, ultra-detailed scene, hospital overload crisis. Ultra-realistic, cinematic hospital emergency entrance with no electricity, generators failing, doctors using flashlights to treat patients, crowded stretchers outside, panic and urgency everywhere, dark medical environment, smoke haze, dramatic low-key lighting, emotional survival crisis tone, film still realism, communication breakdown. Prompt. Close-up cinematic shot of people trying to use dead phones, no signal, frustration and fear on faces, emergency radios failing, city skyline completely dark behind them, eerie silence atmosphere, shallow depth of field, dramatic emotional lighting, ultra-realistic film style. City becomes uncontrolled. Wide cinematic aerial shot of New York City in total blackout chaos. Fires starting in multiple areas, smoke rising between skyscrapers, moving crowds like ants below. Emergency helicopters distant. No power anywhere. Apocalyptic survival mood. Ultra-detailed, dramatic, high-contrast night lighting. Film-grade realism. Part 3. Ultra-realistic cinematic scene of American military vehicles blocking major city streets after total blackout. Soldiers setting up checkpoints, flashing red emergency lights reflecting on dark buildings, strict curfew atmosphere, civilians being redirected, smoke in background, tense survival mood, dramatic night lighting, ultra-detailed film realism, curfew enforcement. Cinematic night scene of soldiers patrolling empty streets with flashlights and rifles, enforcing strict curfew in a completely dark city. Frightened civilians hiding in shadows, abandoned cars, silence broken by distant sirens, foggy atmosphere, high contrast lighting, ultra-realistic, handheld camera-style tension. Food and water crisis, ultra-realistic cinematic scene of long lines of desperate civilians outside closed supermarkets during blackout. No power, no cash systems working, people arguing and struggling for supplies. Emergency survival tension, dim flashlight lighting, smoke haze, emotional chaos, film-style realism, highly detailed environment, water shortage, panic. Cinematic close-up of empty water shelves in stores, people fighting over remaining bottles, panic and desperation, broken glass on floor, dim emergency lights, dark survival atmosphere, shallow depth of field, ultra-realistic cinematic style, emotional tension, city fully controlled war zone. Feel, wide cinematic aerial shot of New York City under military lockdown during total blackout, checkpoints across roads, fires burning in distance, helicopters scanning streets with searchlights, smoke between skyscrapers, dystopian survival atmosphere, ultra-detailed realism, dramatic high-contrast night lighting, film-grade cinematic style. Part 4. Ultra-realistic cinematic wide shot of New York City after prolonged blackout. Entire skyline completely dark for days, smoke and haze filling the air, damaged infrastructure, broken streetlights and silent roads. Emergency military presence fading into exhaustion, dystopian survival atmosphere, dramatic low-key lighting, ultra-detailed film realism, wide establishing shots. City on the edge of collapse, cinematic street-level scene of exhausted civilians sitting on sidewalks at night, tired and hopeless expressions. No electricity, no communication, faint firelight illuminating faces, abandoned vehicles, silence and despair, fog and smoke in air, handheld documentary-style realism, emotional cinematic lighting. The evacuation begins. Ultra-realistic cinematic scene of military evacuation operations in a dark city, helicopters lowering ropes, civilians being guided toward transport zones, emergency lights flashing faintly, chaos controlled but urgent, smoke rising in background, high-tension survival atmosphere, dramatic aerial perspective, film-grade realism, city abandonment, wide cinematic shot of partially evacuated American city during total blackout, empty streets, abandoned cars, flickering fires in distance, skyscrapers as dark silhouettes, wind-moving debris across roads, haunting silence, apocalyptic mood, ultra-detailed realism, high contrast night lighting, slow cinematic feeling. Final shot, endless darkness. Ultra-wide cinematic aerial shot of entire New York City, completely dark at night. No electricity visible anywhere, only faint smoke and distant fires. Helicopters fading into horizon. Atmosphere of permanent collapse. Dystopian survival ending tone. Dramatic film lighting. Ultra-realistic 8K style. Slow zoom-out ending shot. Part 5. Ultra-realistic cinematic wide shot of New York City. Weeks after a massive blackout. Skyline still mostly dark, but slowly signs of recovery in a few isolated areas. Minimal power returning in patches, broken infrastructure, quiet atmosphere, smoke cleared but emptiness remains. Golden dawn light faintly touching buildings. Dramatic film realism, ultra-detailed, hopeful but broken mood. Survivors rebuilding. Cinematic street-level scene of small groups of survivors beginning to rebuild life, repairing structures, sharing supplies, makeshift markets forming in dark city streets, soft morning light breaking through clouds, emotional but hopeful atmosphere, realistic human expressions, film-style depth of field, ultra-detailed survival realism. 3. Military withdrawal, Ultra-realistic cinematic scene of military forces slowly leaving the city, checkpoints being dismantled, soldiers boarding vehicles, civilians watching silently, tension reducing but uncertainty remaining. Early daylight haze, abandoned urban landscape, dramatic but calmer tone, high detail film realism. Power returns, partial restoration. Cinematic view of partial electricity returning to parts of the city, a few buildings lighting up again in contrast with still dark skyline, power crews working on damaged lines, hope slowly returning, contrast of light and shadow, emotional cinematic lighting, ultra-realistic, wide city shot, final message shot, hope and warning, ultra-wide cinematic aerial shot of New York City at sunrise after disaster, half-dark city slowly awakening, faint lights spreading unevenly, birds flying over skyline, calm but emotional atmosphere, symbolic recovery after collapse, dramatic golden sunrise lighting, ultra-realistic 8K film style, slow fade-out ending shot,